I'm Sharon Davidson. Welcome to my show, Uplevel Your Life with Sharon. I'm an ICF certified coach with over 20 years of holistic practice. This podcast is your toolkit for transformation. I offer practical strategies to improve your relationships, well-being, and overall happiness. If you're struggling with low self-esteem, lack of energy, or feeling stuck, you're in the right place. Let's up-level your life together. Welcome back, everybody. I have a special guest here today that I'd like to welcome, Alanna Levenson. How are you today?
I am good. Happy to be here.
Yeah, very happy to have you here. Alanna and I go way back to 2012.
Wow. Gosh.
That was when we
Yes.
met.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So Alanna was part of the coaching course that I took in 2012, and you were volunteering to facilitate. I think you were a co-facilitator or
Yeah. I was co-facilitator. I was what they call me, an associate
right.
facilitator.
Well,
Yeah.
that's how far back we go. So I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Yeah.
I'm going to jump straight into this, and I'm going to ask you to tell our audience a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got to where you are today. Because you do a lot of different things, and you're very interesting. And so just tell us a little snippet of how you got here, and then we'll take it from there.
Goodness. Okay. Where do we begin? I mean, do you want me to focus more on the coaching career aspect? Or do you want me to go further back on how I got into this?
Well, I think what brought you into coaching in the first place? So how did you get into coaching?
So, actually, here's what I will. Okay, this is part of the story. So, when I was young, let's say high school, I was the go-to friend. And friends would come to me with actually some pretty intense subject matters, like I'm pregnant, I'm on drugs, and I want to get off. My dad is molesting me.
Wow.
Like people would come to me with that stuff. They wouldn't go to their best friend.
Right.
And one person in particular who I knew throughout elementary school, high school, and college, and then into my 20s and even 30s. She told me one time, she said, you uh you've always been a good listener. And she said, and you always told me what I needed to hear. I sometimes wasn't ready to hear it, but you always told me what I needed to hear. And so, and with that, that what's nice about all that is that element of trust,
Right.
which is something that I, do in my work when I work with corporate teams, creating an environment where there's psychological safety and trust. And I do think I have the ability to create really fast rapport with
Right.
people that I work with because of that. So anyway, going back, so that's really so in reflecting, and it was that same person who said to me, I think now I was because this was I've been coaching for 20 years. So yeah, this was when I was in my mid 30s. And I remember her saying to me after I had been laid off from a job, we were just catching up and talking about life. And she's like, you should really do this for a living.
Right.
I thought, do what? Like, what am I doing? Have you ever heard of coaching? And this was 20 years ago.
Right.
No. So I really reflected on that conversation, and I looked it up on the internet and found a little bit of information back then about it. And what I ended up doing was dipping my toe in the water because somebody else that was in my life came to me and said, "Hey, do you remember so and so is a friend of hers?" And I said, yes. And she said, well, she's been through therapy and she's going through this, and this, and this, and this in her life. I mean, we're talking, it hit like every aspect of life, like divorce, single mom,
Right.
job change, money, finances, health, all of it. And she said she doesn't want therapy. She wants something different. And I think you can help her. So I thought, okay. I said, well, have her contact me. So she did. We talked. We agreed to work together. At that point, I think I did charge her, but not very much. And I worked with her for every week for 6 months.
Had you already done your coaching course?
No, not yet. In fact, I didn't do the coaching course until about 2 years later. So I was coaching
Right.
before I got certified. And it was the kind of proving it to myself I had
Right.
back
Right.
then, that I could do it, that I wanted to do it, that
Right.
I enjoyed it. The other thing that was also going through my mind, it was an unnecessary pressure that I put on myself now that I reflect back on it, which was, oh God, I'm going to be responsible for somebody else's well-being, which we are. As a
Yeah.
coach, we are. Okay. But to what extent
Exactly.
is the question, right? Once I had a little bit of experience with it, I worked with some people, some pro bono, some charging, and then I decided, okay,
Right.
yep, I want to do this. I can do this. I want to get trained. I want to get properly trained. And so that's when I found IPEC.
I'm just curious because I know what I went through, and we're not going to go into that, but what made you choose IPEC?
Yeah. So back then, I only found two schools. That was it.
ETI and IPEC.
That was it. That was it. There was nothing else that came up on the
Right.
internet.
Yes.
Or at least in the United States. Maybe there
Right.
were places in other countries, I don't know, but all I found in the US was CTI and IPEC. And
Right.
so I went through my own vetting process. And this
Right.
is something I sometimes coach on when I talk to people about sales. Like, if you think about it, how you buy one thing is kind of how you buy everything.
Right.
So I look at options, I
Right.
look at reviews. Right. So, and the way that translated was, I contacted both schools. I looked at both programs. I looked at the cost. I looked at how it was set up. And then I said, I want to talk to somebody. I want
Right.
to talk to somebody from each of your schools. And I want to talk to a past student. And I want to ask them what their experience was. Because back then, I didn't know anybody doing
Right.
this. The internet was not what it
Right.
is now.
Yeah.
I don't even remember if Facebook or LinkedIn was on the internet yet, or it definitely wasn't what it is now.
Facebook, I think, was. It's funny. I will tell you quickly because I ended up at IPEC by default because I was going to go to both of them, and for some reason, CTI pulled their volunteer training that they had, and just by default, IPEC was the one that was
Ah,
proceeding, and
okay.
so the universe just pushed me into exactly where I was supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we got to cross paths. So there you go.
Exactly. It was totally. I'm still very friendly with people that I met at IPEC. I'm going to pivot into something. One of the things that we spoke about that I love because you do so many things, but you are a heart math. You're heart math certified, and so I talk a lot about heart math. And can you tell us about heart math? It's become a very big buzzword right now, right? And so tell us about it. Tell us what it does, why you chose to get certified in it, and then hopefully we'll give our audience an opportunity to experience some of it. But can you talk to us about that?
Yes. Okay. So I love hearing that it's a lot more well known, because when I found out about heart math, which was, God, when was this? This was 4 years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago. When somebody mentioned them in a meditation that they were leading, that I was participating in, I thought, heart math, that's fascinating. Because I've always been a geek about brain science, which
Right.
I still incorporate into my work, and still continue to learn everything I can about it. So I went to their website and I thought, oh my God, how come I've never heard of this before? And
Right.
it's been around for 20 years. So, as I always say, everything in divine timing. So
Absolutely.
I was immediately sold, like went to their website, read some things, especially because it filled in some gaps for me, because I've always felt like there was something missing. And during my journey of learning about brain science, at some point during that journey, I heard that we actually have three brains. right? So we got this brain, of course, we got this brain because there are neural signals in the heart. Who knew?
Yes.
And then there's also neural signals in our gut. Like
Right.
that's like the saying of like, what does your gut tell you? That's where that comes from.
Right.
And this science has been out there. They've known about it. It just hasn't been, I guess, either as readily available to us or just not as known. And so I was immediately sold. The disappointing thing is that they're not ICF accredited.
Right.
So in going through those trainings, you're not going to get any CEUs for an ICF credential. So that's a bummer.
Right.
But I loved it. And it really filled in some blanks for me. And it's, tapping into the brain, heart, brain intelligence and how these two are very much connected. And what I love about it is actually more information travels from our heart to our brain than from our brain to our heart. It goes this way. And they can actually measure the electromagnetic frequency emanating outside of our body.
Right.
And outside of our body, like from our heart area, they can measure it up to, the last I heard was 3 feet, but I'm wondering if it's actually further.
They say between 3 feet and then some say 8 feet and yeah.
Okay.
So,
yep. Well, they know it goes further, but as
right.
far as actually being able to measure it, I think it was 3, but they know it goes further than that. Whereas in comparison, outside of our brain, when we think of thought, it's only about an inch.
Right.
So
here's the thing that I think is the opportunity. And correct me if you think that I'm wrong. That people, it sounds woo-woo, even though the science is there, even though the proof is there, it's such a different concept from what people are accustomed to that I think it's wrapping your brain around it, right? To say, does that make sense, or is it something that's so far out there that people can't tap into that?
Programming.
Exactly.
We've been programmed to have certain belief systems about lots of things that I won't go into, but
right.
Programming. And so, yes, we've been taught to poo-poo it, that it's woo-woo. And
right.
There's even, I haven't seen a heart in flesh myself. I've just seen pictures, but there's even some information coming out that the heart, which I learned was like this encased organ,
right,
that it's actually a vortex, that it's a piece of tissue that you can unravel that's this long. And then when it ravels up, and this is when the blood goes through our heart, it's given a certain frequency. What people probably can't, if you don't think about it as woo-woo, everybody's familiar with acupuncture, yes?
Right. Well,
they're familiar with the meridian system in the body, yes?
Well, not everybody is. So let's just quickly say what that is. Acupuncture is when we have energy lines that run through our body. And so the acupuncture, what it does is the acupuncturist puts pins into your body and then either increases the energy in certain areas or decreases in order for the flow inside your body to optimize the flow inside your body.
Correct. And
it's very simple.
Sometimes it's like a release. Yeah. Right. Sometimes it's like a release. So, and the way that you got to think about the meridian system, it's literally our electrical system in our body. Like whenever you think of thought, literally it's an electrical synapse that goes off.
Right. So why would people be interested in HeartMath? Like, why are we having this conversation? And how does it help somebody to know about the HeartMath? Who would use it? Why would you want to know about it?
Everybody can use it.
Yes.
I mean, they have even a ton of information for kids.
Talk more about it, because the more people hear about it and the more they can take a tangible tool and use it, that's how it grows and expands. And
well, here's what I'll tell you. Okay. So most of my clients are men. I would say 85% of my clients are men. And most of my clients are senior leaders and business founders, of whom have been in business for at least 10 years or more, which means they're usually of an older generation. Let's say on average between like 40 and 65. Every once in a while, I'll get somebody in their mid to late 30s. But that tends to be the clientele that I work with, including, I'll give you one example. I love this one. So I had this one client, and he works at a global cement company. And he had been there for 20 years. Very masculine, Italian descent. And he had a coach before, and loved it, to learn and grow and develop himself and become a better leader. And he very much cares about how he leads teams, and how work gets done. And this is also somebody, because of his position at the company, he had access to the CEO. And here's why that's important. So I brought up this technique, which takes, like, you could do it in 30 seconds. I do it for 2 minutes at the beginning of sessions with clients. It's called the shift and lift. It's super simple and easy. So I introduced it to him, as I do. And I don't make this a have to, by the way. If it doesn't resonate with some people, they're like, yeah, not really my thing, I'm not going to force it.
Right.
And what I also do is, even people who do like it, and do want to do it sometimes, how I will begin every session is we'll say hello. And then I'll say, would you like to do a shift and lift, or do you want to go straight into the conversation? And even people who like it will every once in a while say, can we just go straight into the conversation? It's like right here. I'm like, yes. And then every once in a while say, oh man, I need a shift and lift today.
Right.
I even have one that will say, have you done one yet today, Alanna?
Oh.
Love that. Yeah. But let me go back to this.
I hope you're going to teach us the shift and lift.
I will. Yeah. So let me go back to this. So this particular person, this one day, says to me, Alanna, I have to tell you something. You did not bring up the shift and lift the last time we met. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I will make sure that I will do that every time. And then I said, hey, wait a second. You have the PDF handout. And he turns around and he grabs the print out of it. And he's like, yep, here it is. And I said, see, you don't need me to do this. You can do this on your own.
Right.
But thank you for letting me know. And for sure, we will do this every time. Well, then the next time we spoke, he said, Alanna, I have to tell you something. He said, I've been practicing this more and more on my own. And I did it before a meeting with the CEO. And he said, it was the first time in 20 years that CEO said to me, you're doing a great job. Now, does it have anything to do with the shift and lift? I don't know. Did it have an impact on how my client potentially showed up in that meeting? It's likely, but the frequency, the energy that it gives off and how it impacts others, it's about coherence, getting coherent with yourself, feeling in harmony with yourself, allows you to get in harmony with others.
I want to tell you something before you teach us the technique.
Yeah.
I was in advertising when I was in client service in advertising in South Africa. And I had a boss, and the company was taken over, and it was a very hostile takeover.
Okay.
I had a boss in South Africa who actually used to fly to America to be part of some group here. And she was very spiritual. She taught me a lot. I was all of 25. And what she would say to me back then was, I want you to just send love to everybody, all the new people that are here, even though they don't want us to be here, even though they want to fire us, whatever. I want you to send love to all of them. And guess what? We ended up being friends. We ended up staying. The whole environment shifted. Now we're talking about here is what it is specifically, but it was a frequency of open-heartedness. It was a loving frequency as opposed to a negative. And you and I do the energy leadership, and so we talk about the different energy levels and everything, but it was an up-leveled energy of love as opposed to victim or anger, and it shifted. It really shifted.
Yeah. I mean, the bottom line is, if you think of, something else to teach you about this is, there's this kind of think of it as sort of like this energetic donut, this big donut that you're standing inside of it. Okay. And it's just constantly going like this.
Right.
And, that is the energy that we give off. It's the frequency that we give off.
Right.
And ours overlaps with other people, definitely that are in close proximity to us. Right. Although, I still need to learn a lot more about it myself. I mean, I'm still learning all the time. But they've done studies on the frequency, when you have a lot of people all focused on the same thing in that frequency based intention and sending that to, say, another part of the world, it can have an impact. So it doesn't only impact people that are in the same room with you or the same building with you, it can actually impact people hundreds of miles away.
Well, I'm a pranic healer. Okay. So, and the pranic healing, what there's studies that they've done where they do meditation on twin hearts and they're out there healing the world and setting the intention. And they've shown how, I think Chicago was one area that they did a study where they all focused on the drugs and and everything else, and it shifted a little bit. So it's the power of intention as well,
Yeah.
the power of prayer. Look, the Jews do that too. I'm sure the different religions probably do that too. But you have a 10 people with a minion, and there's that intention of prayer, or everybody focusing on one thing. Or you had the circle of eight, where she did a whole lot of research, and she also showed that the intention of everybody focusing on one thing, and it doesn't have to be in your inner circle, it can be remote. And distant healing too, right? I'm a Reiki master, so doing distant Reiki healing,
Yeah. Yeah.
etc., is very powerful.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a little bit more about even your mother or your you've spoken about the male or the female, the benefit of doing that in your daily life.
Mm,
And so how to do it and then what the benefits of it are.
yeah. Well, gosh, I mean, I don't know about you, but especially these days, everything feels heavy and uncertain. And there's a lot happening in the world.
Right.
There's what's happening in my little personal bubble on a day-to-day basis, and then there's what's happening in the world. And
Right.
I can't help but be affected by that. You can't help but be affected by that. And in the work that I do, which is uh, leadership and running a business and all of that, it's like the bottom line is we can't. We think we can effectively compartmentalize, but we can't.
Right.
What we can do is we can be cognizant of how things are affecting, like I'll use I statements. I can be cognizant of how things are affecting me and my emotional life, and therefore how I'm showing up. And when I'm in a shared space with somebody else, whether it's in the same room or virtually, right?
Right.
I'm going to have an impact on them and they're going to have an impact on me. And so the more that I can be aware of how I'm emotionally feeling and how that's affecting what we're both trying to achieve in whatever relationship or
Right.
context that we're in, then I can do it with intention. And I'm a highly, highly intentional person. Not to the point where it's like rigid and, but
Right.
that if there's anything that I like to instill into my coaching work that I do with people is the ability to be very intentional and understand what you're doing and why you're doing it and the impact that it's going to have.
I think that's huge. And that opens us up another whole
That
avenue
makes
of
sense.
manifesting and the power of language and everything else. So that is also another whole topic, right?
Oh,
But I do think
yeah.
that there's a need for more awareness of being intentional and of noticing how others affect us or how our impact that we have on others and the impact that others have on us, as opposed to just saying, I didn't understand why I would be exhausted sometimes when I would be in company of people and then I would be exhausted. I didn't understand that it was just that they were energy vampires and I was just being depleted and giving so much of myself. And I didn't have an awareness of that. I mean, now, of course, I do, but this was way back. So just that awareness of what is going on around us, internally, externally, all of that is very profound and
Yeah.
important and very important.
Well, and also recently, God seems to be putting people in my path that uh, I've had some, let's just say, uncomfortable experiences with. And I'm like, okay,
Here's an opportunity.
here's an opportunity to heal. And
Right.
it's really fascinating how, again, being cognizant of how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking and how I'm showing up and how do I want to be right now? How do I want to, as well as protecting myself.
Right.
I'm not going to say don't protect yourself, especially these days.
Right.
Right. But I usually call them healthy parameters. So, right. So what are the healthy parameters I can create for myself, either in a particular dynamic or just in a certain environment where if there's a person there that I've gone through an uncomfortable thing with, how am I going to show up? And it's really interesting what's happening. And it's the meaning that we put on things and being aware of the energy that I give off. Like I can be the person that is being observant of being in the situation and an observer of the situation at the same time. I do have that ability. And so that can make me even more intentional about, being aware of who I'm being in any moment.
I always say I'm always sitting on my shoulder. I'm always my observer. I know exactly, it's like I'm watching myself all the time. Again, not crazy, but it's just having that awareness.
Exactly. It's a higher sense of self-awareness, which unfortunately some people just don't have. They don't recognize the impact that they can have on others. And look, I'm not perfect. So, every once in a while, I'll say something or do something and realize, and then I'll have to go clean it up and be like, you know what? I said this and I'm sorry, or I did this and I'm sorry. I am not too prideful to go back and say, I'm sorry. That's not how I wanted to come across.
Right. And sometimes, and I will share this sometimes with my clients where I'll say, my intention was to do X, and yet my default went to something else because there was still more work to do around that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So sometimes you do the work, but it's an onion. So you're peeling away the layers and you think that you've done all the work around something, but you haven't actually because there's a little bit more there's something deeper.
Well, my understanding is that we usually don't leave the planet until we've worked on that stuff. But we also have various exit points and we can figure that out. But yeah, I mean, as long as we're here, we might as well continue to grow and develop and deepen our sense of self-awareness and recognize the impact that we have on others. And especially because going back to what's happening and occurring in the world right now, I think what we all need a little bit more is compassion, empathy, recognizing the impact that we can have on one another.
I would love to see a little bit more awareness around parents and children. I wish I'd had the tools back then that I have now, right? But that awareness of the impact that we have. And when we don't clean up our own stuff and we don't deal with it, or even just coming from a heart-centered place, it makes a huge difference on the people around us.
Absolutely.
Do you want to share the technique with us?
I would love to. Yeah. So I'm going to talk through it. And then if you want, we can do it together.
That sounds great.
And I'm happy to share the handout with you so that you can share it with your audience. But so I'm just going to read through it. So the shift and lift raises your vibration, which can have an uplifting effect. So what they mean by vibration is, and we said it earlier, it's frequency. So you're raising your frequency. So that's where when I share with people, I'm like, this might sound a little hippy dippy. What they mean by the vibration piece is frequency, and everything's frequency. Our voice has a frequency, which is why it's important that we say certain things out loud and our body can feel it. Plants have a frequency, right? Clothing has a frequency. Words have frequencies. So all of it. So that's what they're referring to. Okay. And then it says you can feed the field with higher vibrations, higher frequency, which can have an uplifting effect on yourself and others. And what they mean by the field, feeding the field, is just anything that's out here outside of your body. And as far as the field that you focus on, that's kind of up to you. It could be the field just within the room that you're in. It could be the home or the building or conference room that you're in. Sometimes I even think about going out as far as, say, the town that I'm in or the country that I'm in, right? So that's when you can be intentional about it. But to keep it simple, that's just what they're referring to. So there's just 3 simple steps the first step is heart-focused breathing. And that in and of itself is its own technique. So even if you just did step one, that for like 10 seconds, that can shift things for you. So I'll read through it.
Okay.
So focus your attention in the area of the heart and imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area, breathing a little slower and deeper than usual, and find an easy rhythm that's comfortable. Now, when I do this, I put my hand over my heart just so I can bring some physiological attention here. You don't have to if you don't want to.
But can I just ask?
Yeah.
I talk about the heart center, which is right in the middle of the chest. So when you say put your hand on your heart, people will typically go to the left side. I go to the heart chakra. But just,
Yeah. Either way, to be honest with you, I don't even think it really matters
I
because
don't think it does either.
when you mention it, your body knows what you're talking about. Now, it's like, do you want to put this? If you do, it's wherever it's comfortable for you. I mean, some people put it much higher on their chest because if that's where they're feeling that like comfort sensation,
Right.
why the heck not? Right. So that's what I do here. And then step two. So usually like when I do this with a client, I'll say, we're going to do step one for about a minute and I'll watch the clock so that you don't have to. And I'll tell them the first time we do this, it's going to feel like 5 minutes, right? But just be patient with it and just be present and just breathe. And then we'll go to step two. I would do step two and step three for about 30 seconds each. But step two is activate feelings of kindness, appreciation, genuine connection, or an attitude of deep listening. Now, there is a suggestion on the handout that they're going to see, which is if you can't connect with the heart feeling, try to recall a time when you felt a kind, deeper connection with someone, anyone. And if that's challenging, because yes, we sometimes have hard days and sometimes we don't even want to do this.
Right.
Just breathe. Appreciation for something, anything, a pet, a sandwich that you ate, which was super delicious, right? An piece of art that's on the wall, whatever it is, right? Just appreciation for something to help raise your vibration, raise your frequency, and help that settle any energy or tension that you're feeling. Now, what I'll tell clients too when I do this is when I say activate feelings of kindness, appreciation, genuine connection, and an attitude of deep listening is I'll think about kindness towards all the people that I get to connect with that day. Appreciation, especially for the person sitting in front of me, because I get the opportunity to work with them. And that I want to genuinely connect with them right now and have an attitude of deep listening, heart to heart, so that I can provide them with whatever it is that they need to walk away from this coaching session with something that they can implement right away or whatever is valuable to them. So that's the intention that I put out. And I'll share that with them. And then I'll say, you don't have to think about me at all. You can think about somebody else, whatever makes sense for you. There's no wrong way of doing this. So that's step two.
And that's the coherence. Well, because that's when you say that people feel safe with you, your intention is to hold that safe space. You're not showing up worrying about how you show up as a coach. You are showing up with this very safe space, very open-heartedly, and people feel that. That's coherence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Or at least that's the
intention. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So the third step quickly is radiate these heart qualities to raise your vibration, your frequency, and help lift the energy field environment that surrounds you. Remember the environment, the field. So, and simply by radiating the way that I imagine it. So naturally it's going to emanate outside of my body anyway, however far it goes. But when I radiate, I imagine it actually going much further.
Right.
And I just use my playful imagination of what that could look like for me. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. And then on here too, there's just a few little recommendations or suggestions because people are like, well, when can I do this? Or when should I do? There's no should in this.
Right.
It's, there's no wrong way to do this. Just follow the steps. But you could do this before and during interactions. And in saying that, this was actually designed to be done with your eyes open.
Right.
So that if you're in a meeting say at work and things do get tense, you could start doing heart-focused breathing.
Right.
Someone else has to know what you're doing. You're going to settle your own energy, become coherent within yourself, and others, without even knowing, will sense it.
Right.
With me, I always tell people, if you want to close your eyes, feel free, right? But you can do this before or during a performance review if you're a leader or own a business and have a team. Phone calls, if you're working on a project, you can do this as a team. Every once in a while, I have a leader that actually has the courage to share this with the team that they lead, and they'll do this at the beginning of a meeting every once in a while. Conference calls to reset from a drama or something tense arising. And when I say drama, all I mean by that is heightened emotion. It's a very simple definition of drama, because I think when people talk about drama, it's like there's judgment in that. So when I'm saying, I just mean heightened emotion.
You can use it when you are dealing with family members or anywhere, really anywhere. What if you have somebody that says, I cannot access any of this. I don't have joy. I don't know when, I don't know what to be grateful for. Like you really have resistance with this.
Well, again, this isn't about gratitude. This is about appreciation and kindness. So I would say to that person, is there any moment ever in your life that you've appreciated anyone or anything? Anything.
Right. Okay. The
You know what I
word
mean?
appreciation does shift it. You know what? Because it's
Yeah.
not, I'm grateful for this. It's like, okay, I can see that it kind of feels in the middle. It's moving towards, it could be gratitude, but I like that word appreciation.
Yeah, they don't say gratitude. And in
Mm.
saying that too, I want to mention also what I've noticed over the years is that because gratitude is an often encouraged practice in the coaching realm, some people get kind of triggered by that,
Yeah,
or they resist it. And so I'll say, what if you replaced gratitude with appreciation?
I like that.
Feel better? Or I'll ask them, what would you call it?
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't have to be what I call it.
Right. You're just elevating the emotion. You're taking it from, in terms of the energy levels, you're taking it from a negative catabolic perspective, maybe, to something that's a little bit more positive, which opens up flow.
Yeah, and it's an invitation. Look, I'll say, would you like to give
Exactly.
this a try? I had one client actually who did give it a try, said, you know what, I don't want to do that. So we haven't. But what's interesting is he's somebody, so I had a 6-month engagement with him and then he renewed. And something came up recently where I said, hey, he asked me, how do I deal with this situation? What is something I can do? And I said, well, that's funny that you asked. Did you remember in the beginning, you and I did this
Right.
short little exercise? He's like, yeah. And he said, I'm more open to it now.
Right.
I said, do you want to try it again and see? He's like, yeah. So we did. He said, you know what? Yep. Okay. I get it now. So we go, we're all on our own journey.
And you know what? Well, you'll do it when you're ready. That's the whole thing with everything, right? I'm always saying to my clients, does this resonate with you? If it doesn't, throw it out the window. No ego, no attachment. You'll do it when you're ready. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's not our agenda. Absolutely. Should we go through it?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
Okay. So, and to set it up too, I'll say, be aware of your feet and sit comfortably while also being aware of your spine. It doesn't mean you have to be rigid, right? Like, just be aware of your spine. And then, again, you can put your hand over your heart if you'd like, but not a have to. And then we're going to take a deep breath in through the nose and then blow it all the way out through the mouth. So deep breath in and all the way out. And we'll start with heart focused breathing. So focus your attention in the area of the heart and imagine your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area. Breathing a little slower and deeper than usual. And find an easy rhythm that's comfortable. And we'll do this for about 30 seconds. And while you're doing heart focused breathing, activate feelings of kindness, appreciation, genuine connection, or an attitude of deep listening. And then radiate these heart qualities to raise your vibration and help lift the energy field environment that surrounds you. Hey, thank you.
Mm.
And I'll ask you, how was that for you? That's what I do when I do this for people, especially the first time. I'll say, how was that for you?
Well, it's always awesome because my kids are the ones that come up. And so
Mm,
I'm always sending the kindness and the love and the holding that space. And it's very calming. I mean, it takes you away from everything external and then brings you, and I like the weight of the hands on the chest.
yeah, me too.
Feels
Physiologically, that's helpful to
warm and
me, but some people, yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Um, you said something earlier about praying, and I've more recently, I've been really taking a look at that. And somebody shared a really interesting distinction. I can't remember the podcast I was watching, but they said, we've kind of been praying wrong. And I thought that was kind of an interesting statement. And they said, when you pray, you're not really supposed to pray for somebody else in terms of impacting a specific outcome for them. What you can do is by praying or saying, doing a technique like this, is sending them an intention,
right,
an experience, an emotion, right? And then it's kind of up to them what
right,
they do in their life. And that's to honor and respect their journey, where they are, and
right.
what they're learning, and that
Yeah.
sort of
I talk
uh
about that with my clients, with their kids or even their family to say, every soul comes here to learn whatever they're supposed to learn, right? So they chose their lessons. Well, I believe we choose our lessons, which,
yeah. So, and then for those of you out there, I mean, you'll probably attract a more spiritually based, heart-centered type of audience anyway. But if anybody catches wind of this conversation, and this isn't a normal thing for you, uh, it very much correlates to the work world and the business world in terms of, I mean, think about the typical executive these days is going to back to back to back to back to back to back meetings all day. They don't really give themselves a lot of time. They're under very high stress. They're tasked with doing more with less
right,
resources. And sometimes if they lose people on a team, they don't get backfill budget to have to
right,
hire somebody new. So it's a very stressful environment. So just imagine that an executive or a leader has a tool like this where they can give themselves sort of a mini reset, if you
right,
will, just for 30 seconds to just get present and not pull what just happened or occurred in one meeting into the next one.
right,
That's where it can be really valuable.
right. Well, there's so many benefits. I mean, reduced stress, higher intuition, increased or improved connections with other people. I mean, it just, and I don't think that this is not new. It's just called something different because you talk about mindfulness, you talk about meditation, you talk about the ancient wisdom. You know what? It was just done a little differently. So neuroscience is just exposing things from a more scientific basis compared to what it was like before. That's what I love about the neuroscience, is just supporting it. Alana, anything else you want to share with our audience? This was
Uh,
amazing. Thank you.
yeah. Well, if they want to learn more about me and what I do and how I do it, I definitely have a website, and I'll share that domain name with Sharon so that she can
I will
share
share it.
ilovemylife.com with dashes in between. I also have a podcast called Defy Limits. And then I also do lives twice a month called Alchemize with Alanna. And I'm talking to all kinds of interesting people who go through some really cool experiences around business and transformation and taking what life throws at you and doing something productive with it so that people don't get stuck. But other than that, yeah, reach out if you have any questions. And I'll also share the handout with you so that you can share it with your audience. If anybody wants.
Awesome. I will share your information. This was amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
And thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening. Remember, transformation comes from action, not just knowledge. What will you apply from today's episode? Visit www.sharonsavitson.com for more resources. If this helped you, please subscribe and share. Let's up level together.